gotta have somewhere to live. You gotta have food to eat. You gotta have a car to drive. Again, I remember '06. I remember '07. I remember '08 when we got our asses handed to us in this field. But for me, rent was still rent. House prices might have fell. You might have had a house that was worth $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
The house price might have fell to 350, 300, 200. But Keisha rent was still $1,300. Keisha rent was still $1,400, $1,500. So you couldn't go refinance the house, but you sure was still making rent money. You know, our net worth dropped, but my income didn't drop. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that's my advice to people when I tell them about the real estate field. It's like, yo, rental real estate for me, it changed my life.
So I just happened to be scrolling up and down my YouTube home feed, looking for a different video, trying to get out of my normal algorithm. And I just happened to come across a pretty black queen by the name of Rochelle Mosley's page. And I saw Ish on the thumbnail. I was like, all right, bet. Click on it, see if there's anything new to talk about. And I wound up staying for the whole doggone interview. I was like, wow. This is the Ish I remember when he initially came on the JBP. And then I came to the conclusion that it's not Ish's fault at all that he's not able to be himself on the JBP. Because Joe is pushing every possible narrative. And now that I've watched long enough, I'm starting to realize that he's pushing these narratives in Ish's direction so Ish can react. Joe feels that Ish is his best when he's in his argumentative state. And I don't vehemently disagree, but I do disagree. Because it was nice chilling for an hour just listening to him spit gems, spit game. And literally spit game. He says he has a bunch of female friends. In the relaxed state that I saw him in on this interview, I can absolutely see why. But while we're at it, let me go ahead and plug her page. I saw this video about 2 days ago. And of course, we heard Joe speak on it on the pod. Normally, Joe would crack jokes. He didn't even have any jokes to crack. It was a good overall interview. So let me plug her page. Rochelle Mosley is her name. When I first started following, she was at about 890 subs. So over the course of 2 days, she got well over 2,000 subs now. And this is easily her best viewed video. This is not me clowning. This is just me pointing out the Ish effect. I've always been curious why Ish never had a standalone show, standalone pod, a 1v1 style pod underneath the Joe Budden Network. But now that he's making all these appearances, I think he realizes his stock in this sphere. I'm not saying he's going to branch off from the JBP. This is not what I'm saying. But I do think he's doing a litmus test to see what it is that he can and can't speak about on his own. Because every podcast that he has gone outside of the JBP has been a smaller podcast. And every time he appears on it, his video does numbers. Hopefully he's accumulating enough information to realize that he could do these things on his own, not away from the JBN. I'm not telling him to leave. I am telling him to get on his Melissa Ford and flip. Because every time I make a rankings list or video, everybody's constantly telling me that it should be higher than he is. It should be higher than he is. You either love Ish or hate Ish. But when you see Ish, he's very clickable. Pause. It sounds crazy. I meant in the thumbnail. But it was good to see him in his own element. I'm curious to see if this does anything towards his own stock and towards his stock with the JBN. Curious to see if he does any outside ventures. Curious to see if he does any of his financial talks or home improvement talks or construction talks or anything. I'm curious to see if he creates a channel or has his publicist or his team create a channel for him on any of these social media platforms and just start creating. Because clearly he has pull in every lane he decides to go in. Success tends to follow him. And this is not me nut riding Ish. This is me curious as to why Joe won't let Ish be Ish on the JBP. Does Joe feel like it constantly has to be an uproar or chaotic situation for it to thrive? Or does not Or does Joe not respect, I apologize, does Joe not respect Ish when he's in his calm state? Another thing I noticed, this was the initial relationship that we witnessed, at least, with Melissa Ford and Ish. Did something happen behind the scenes? Or was the narratives that Joe were pushing too much for them to handle? Because they initially started off with the same vibes that I saw throughout the entirety of this interview. But out of nowhere, we as the audience, and I had to contribute myself to this as well, put the narrative out that Melissa and Ish were dating or doing things behind the scenes or feeling each other and flirting. Did things get too hot and heavy behind the scenes to the point where we can no longer have this type of relationship, even though it was on full display with other women? Did something happen to cause tension? I know this is me being speculative and messy. I apologize if that's not your style, but these are things that I'm thinking about as I watch this interview. How come Melissa isn't allowed to get this type of grace, quote unquote, whenever she's addressing people? How come she can't get her one-on-ones? If we're going to have a gender war based pod, most of the time that y'all are trying to get her included, how come y'all can't just let her get her 1v1 as if she was hosting or as if she was in a comfortable space? I don't know. It's a lot of things to think about. I know this was Miss Rochelle on her own channel and on her own podcast, but just given the numbers produced from her page, she's not in the sphere. She's not a media personality at this moment. So for it to not look like it was rehearsed or scripted or anything of that sort, it was natural, free-flowing conversation. And this is what we initially saw from Melissa Ford when she was interacting with Ish, and then out the blue, we no longer receive that, and it seems like everybody's frustrated. It would be nice to just see people in a nice, natural, relaxed state on the JBP, because we're not calling for everybody or anybody to get fired. Because I know the hate train for Melissa is getting bigger and bigger, and it seems like I'm giving her more and more grace. It's just, I have seen all these people in their natural state on the JBP, which is why we wanted them to be on the JBP. And I'm just hoping we can get it back before it has to implode. But I appreciate what I saw. I hope Ish continues to venture out, do more episodes, do more podcasts from unknowns so he can bolster their numbers, so he could bolster his own imagery and his own branding out here in the sphere. I also saw Melissa Ford is continuing with season 2. She had an interview with Tasha Smith. That's a beautiful black woman, so you know I clicked on it. It's doing numbers. And she's clipping the hell up out of her podcast just like Joe does. You might as well try to recoup every single penny you spent on this. You might as well recoup all of it. I'm not mad at the model, and she's still continuing, which leads me to further believe that I'm trying to lead a JBP. I'm trying to get the hell up out of here. As soon as I get my feet underneath this podcast, I am gone. I don't need no drop. And clearly Joe's paying attention to her podcast still, because he spoke on her not having a drop. How would you know that if you're not watching? He's intently watching. He's going to come up with something if you don't come up with it first, Melissa. So stay on your grind. Ish, get on your grind in this entertainment sphere, because it's clear you have a voice and a face out here. And y'all go check out the interview. I don't think it was a waste of time on my end, so I don't think it would be a waste on yours. I appreciate all the support on the channel. Y'all make sure y'all subscribe if you haven't subscribed. If you have, you already know I appreciate you. Comment, engage, let's get a conversation going. Like the video. Until tomorrow, y'all be safe out here. Peace.